Today we have a true grinder. He earned his stripes in the Tampa scene and the circuit. Joel Dutch. What's up, Joel? How you doing?
Good. So I just figured before we start, like just a little disclaimer.
Yeah.
Um, I don't consider myself a professional poker player. Meaning, like to me, a professional poker player is someone that's what he does for a living. That's how he makes his income. That's what he
Right.
does 80% of the time. I am not that. So I just want to put that out there. So
I didn't
not to
say
expect.
professional. I said I
No,
said
no. I
we
know, but
could.
maybe people that are watching are possibly giving me too much credit or whatever.
No.
I
We're
you
gonna
know
dive into all that. When I ask you
right,
about the background, you're gonna go into the background, like tell us the story, how you got into
exactly.
poker, and we're gonna
Sure,
mention that you have a business on the side. Like
sure.
when we say professional poker player, it means like your sole income is from poker. So we know that you're
Right. So I'm not right.
right.
So for me, I mean, I respect these professional poker players that put it all on the line and they basically go out and try to make it out there, and that's all they do, and they're playing with their bankroll, and they're relying on that to eat and to pretty much for their entire income. I am not in that spot where I do play quite a bit of poker, but um, I try not to play during the week, during weekdays, the typical business hours, 9 to 5. I'm usually not in the poker scene, unless with a few exceptions that we'll talk about later. So I just want to I just want to make it clear that I'm not
Clarify.
considered a professional poker player, but I'm here to have fun, and thank you for having me
Fair enough.
anyways. And it's good to have different kinds of people on the show as well. Not I've watched the last few, amazing. You had some amazing shows with
Thank you.
yeah. So
Thank you. I mean, it's nice to clarify. It's being professional poker player is a tough life. Having a side
yeah.
income, and we're gonna dive in deeper of what you do. What's your main source of income? Uh, Before I ask you about the background, actually, go ahead and give us a little background. How you got into poker? What year you started? And I was gonna look at your Hendon Mob here, first recorded score. But go ahead and tell us how you discovered poker.
Um. So I mean, it depends how far we want to back up, but I think
From the beginning, from the get go, young Joel,
so. I
not knowing what poker is and what attracted you to the game.
First of all, young Joel has definitely some gamblers' addiction, probably genetics. So I believe my grandfather was a big gambler, and that thing does run. It could pass it. Like my father is not that much, but I definitely think I have some of that. Um, Stories that I've heard. My grandfather's like they're Russian, Ukrainian from back there, but
Oh, I didn't know you have that background.
yeah. So yeah, my parents are these days it's pretty technically Ukrainian Russian, but it used to be somewhat all the
Yeah,
same.
Soviet Union.
Right. So yeah, they were hard workers out there. My parents, they're immigrants. They came over to America, but yeah. So I definitely heard some crazy stories. Some that I'm not even sure I want to share. It's something.
We keep it real here on
So,
the
so,
Kman
so,
podcast.
some I'll keep it real. Somewhere in the lines where my grandfather sold one of his daughters, I think, somewhere around there. I couldn't afford it, or today we'd call it adopting, or he got money, whatever it is. I don't know exactly, so we'll leave it. We
Yeah,
won't talk
I
about
don't know if we should laugh or cry
it.
about this
Yeah,
story.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I definitely have that. I definitely have that in me. So going back as from childhood, I mean, I grew up in New York as a Jewish Orthodox in a religious environment. So we used to like, for those who know, we'd have a holiday called Hanukkah.
Hmm.
Hanukkah, it's our Christmas or whatever. So we would play as kids. We would play dreidel, which is like it's like a wooden or plastic, like a spinning top, and it has like four walls. That was for the kids. We would play
I
with pennies.
played with tops back in the day.
Okay, so this is it's a different version of the tops, and
This
but
is what year? This is what year, Joel?
this is I'm saying growing up as a kid, it's a tradition. We would every year one of our holidays. Part of the holiday is literally gambling. We start as a kid. We'd play for pennies, literally for pennies, But then the adults or the older kids would actually play. It's a very cool card game. It's called Kvitlech. You can Google, you can look it up. It's Kvitlech. So that was my first card game. It's basically 1 through 12. You have cards 1 through 12, and there's 2 of each. It's 24 cards. I don't remember exactly all the details, but it was a lot of fun. There's, it goes up to 12. The 12 is somewhat of a wild card where it can be a few different. It can be a 12, a 10, whatever. And the deuce that has like a border around it, and the 12 and the 11 has a border around it. If you get 2 of those, it's automatic. It's getting to 20. We're not going to get into the technical of the game, but it's a simple game. But the point is, that was my first true like gambling
exposure
card rush. Yeah, where they would let.
Question. Just I always do that. A timeline. We need timeline. So this is what age you're talking? Like 7, 8 years old?
So definitely the dreidel part we would play. 4, 5, 6, 7. It starts 3 years old. I mean, it's meant for kids.
And you said gambling.
Designed for kids.
Was there money involved in the dreidel?
So if you think about it, yeah, it's a form of gambling. We're gambling with pennies, but it's kids, literally 4-year-old, spinning a dreidel. If it lands on it's Jewish alphabet, so if it if it lands on a certain alphabet, then if it lands on a certain alphabet, you have to put money into the center. So that you're playing with 5 people. So it keeps building a pot, and if you get like a certain letter out of 4, so 1 out of 4, you get it all. If you get one different letter, you get only half of it. If you get one of them, you have to put in. It's a simple,
So you learned losing and winning back in 4 or 5 years old. We're talking. So
I mean, yeah, I guess it's definitely a form of gambling, no question about it.
100%.
We were playing for pennies. Some were playing for, you could play for beans or whatnot. But while we were doing that, the older teens and adults and parents, they were playing Kvitlech. By the way, Kvitlech has been around since, I think I just looked up, definitely 18th century, if not possibly even 17th century. It's really old. I think definitely 18th century. So it's been around for a while. So they were playing Kvitlech, and and then once I got a little older, I guess I just I joined, and that was probably the first real sort of gambling, card playing rush that. And it was a lot of fun, and it would get, you play for real money. I mean, the big boys were playing, for the adults were playing, the pots would get big, and, there'd be real money involved in it. And then when I got a little older in my teens, we went to public, during the holiday, went to like public, they would make like a party, and there would be like 4 or 5 of these tables playing this. And at that age, there was $10,000 on the table already, like real money.
Is it winner take all, or there's rounds of betting, kind of like poker?
So again, the last time I played that was probably more than 15 years ago. But I believe everyone antes up a certain amount. Everyone gets dealt. I mean, I don't want to quote the details wrong of the game. It is a pretty simple game, very straightforward, simple game. It's not as complex, by no means, like it's nothing like poker or anything. It's super simple, but I just haven't played it for a while. But it's basically the pot bloats, and then one person just ends up getting the pot. If if the person hits either 21 or 2, whatever. But the exact details of the game is I didn't study it before this.
So we got a picture. So 4 or 5 years old, you're playing with the top. You get older, you start playing the card game for money. So you were exposed to the gambling way early on.
To that
when did poker come into the picture?
So hold on. So the next thing after that is I would say probably at like 17, 16, 17, living in New York. A couple of friends go, let's go to Atlantic City. Never been there before. We didn't know what a casino means or anything like that. We're all underage. So we go, back then I think it was the Hilton, which is not around these days. So we go, obviously I'm scared. I'm going into like a casino for the first time. Like, I don't have one pubic, I'm 16 or like, I go in with, I don't remember, with $200. I pick a corner and I sit down at a slot machine. I don't know if just the saying beginner's luck or whatever, but basically back then it was still quarters. It wasn't paper like that right now. And I fed it like $20 or $30, and without exaggeration, the machine wouldn't stop, just just spewing out quarters and quarters. I filled up there was like literally like there was like two people waiting behind me, hoping that I'll get up and leave. And I just first time ever walked in. So I'm underage. I'm like, so we decide to leave. We don't cash it in. We're scared. We take like three. I take 3 buckets of quarters. We put it in the trunk of our car. I still remember we had to drive back to go like to go through the Verrazano Bridge. We didn't even have money. We took out the coins from the trunk. So that's where like a real gambling rush kind of, and that's where probably a nasty gambling, potentially developed because I'm thinking, okay, I just made like whatever it was, $300. I'm like, I got this all worked out. I just have to come here 3 times a week. I'll make $300-400. I'm making 1,200. You know how that goes. And yeah, and I started going more and more to AC, Atlantic City, and
Question: You grew up. Your childhood was New York, right?
my childhood was New York. Yeah, I went
New
to
York.
Jewish school, and I grew up in a real religious Orthodox environment in
Orthodox
Brooklyn.
Jews are very
Yeah,
strict, very
yeah,
religious.
yeah. And I come from that. My parents were a little more not as bad as where we
Secular.
lived because they were kind of like Russian immigrants, and they just happened to when they came to New York, to America rather, they happened to drop into Williamsburg, which is a really religious area. Somebody helped them out, gave them a job, gave them a basement. So they ended up falling into that area, which is a super religious area. And in
Do you
Rome,
call them? Do you call yourself a Hasidic Jew, or is it Hasidic or
yeah, I mean
Orthodox?
it's the same thing. Hasidic
Same thing.
Orthodox
Okay.
is ultimately the same thing.
Okay.
Obviously, I don't, I'm not exactly like the
Back
rest of
to
my family at this point. They're still Orthodox, but I took a little bit of a different route, and I'm a little more, I left New York, I came to Florida, and didn't really didn't wasn't excited of kind of like leading that way.
Have you ever been to Israel?
Yeah, it's funny they ask. I actually was just there with my kids. Um, uh, Literally, it was like right after a Tampa series, I like did really well. It was final table for 40 or 50K, or yeah, I went with my two kids to Israel. I had a blast. It was great. It
We don't
was
want to
probably
get too
like 2 years.
political, but I'm going to ask you about what do you think about what's going on over there. But let's get back to the poker. Let's dive
I
into the
mean,
poker.
what's going on is oh, you're asking, or you said you don't want to ask?
Yeah, we'll dive in back. I just
Okay,
want to
okay,
get a
okay.
background on poker.
Right.
We'll discuss the topic a little bit.
Okay.
We don't want to get too political.
Yeah. Okay.
So little gambling. You got the top. You're
Well,
playing the card game. Now you went to the casino the first time. You're like, this is easy. I got to figure it out. The machine spit out $300 3 times a week. You'd be like, I'll make 1,000 a week. So when did poker come to the picture, and who introduced you to poker?
so then came a chapter of graduating to blackjack, and then I
Mhm.
started really degenerating in blackjack. So that got really bad. So I'm already basically sitting at the blackjack table at 17, probably 18 at some
Where's the
point.
money coming from at that age?
So I actually dropped out of high school at 16. I wasn't a good student. Again, I went to religious Jewish schools, which to me was pretty boring and not interesting. The secular study wasn't that important. English is not my first language. You can probably kind of tell from my accent or whatever. But so I kind of dropped out at 16. So my father said, "Listen, if you're not going to go to school at 16, then go get a job." So I kind of like at 16 I was already working. At 17 so at 16 I got a simple job in some warehouse making like $8 an hour. I was like, I didn't leave school for this, and I quit probably within about 4 or 5 days. And then shortly afterwards, I was introduced to the sales world. And at like 17, I was already making really good money. I basically started doing sales, working for online for cameras, online magazine. Online was it was whatever, but I was selling cameras and upselling. So basically doing sales.
What
I
year
was
was
making
that?
really good money.
You were
So
17, 16. What
so
year was that?
so it was like in 97, 98, I was like making $1,500, $2,000 a week, which at that point for an 18-year-old It's it was real. I mean, it's really good money now too. But I'm making $1,500 to $2,500 a week, right out of the gate at seven. Like not my first job, but that lasted like a week. But right after that, I'm already making good money. So I immediately started making good money. I dropped out of high school and I immediately went into the business world. Worked there, became really as a top-rated salesman in Jersey when I was there in that industry. Um, I got really good at it, and before you know it, they tried to pull me to another company. I opened up my own business. I closed the business and all that. At like 21 or 22, I already owned the business, closed the business, failed. I've kind of like started really,
Jewish
really
people,
early.
man,
Yeah.
they're business savvy. Like
Yeah,
money is
yeah.
like number one. Making money, you gotta hustle and
Yeah,
just make.
it's like the typical Jewish thing. You go work somewhere for 2 years, you learn the whole business or whatnot, and then you go out on your own. I mean, that's just that's just what it is.
Okay, so you're
Um,
hustling on the streets. You're selling cameras. You're opening
I'm not hustling.
businesses.
I mean, it's not hustling on the street. I actually have a regular job. I'm working for a real
Yeah,
company.
yeah, yeah. When
Just
I say
yeah,
streets,
sitting in a cubicle from
I'm
sitting
saying
in a
business. You left
yeah,
school and now you're like out in the
yeah,
real world, making
yeah.
money, and you're doing the blackjack a little bit. So when did poker come into? When did the element of poker come into play?
So yeah, poker really came in much later. So I'm just I'm playing a lot of blackjack, DJing a lot of blackjack. Like embarrassing to say like some stories of. I'll tell you one, just a short thing. Like I had like a friend of mine. This is how bad it was. It's like about a 2.5 hour drive. I remember like one time going with my friend like let's go, and he's like sleeping in the car or whatever. I drove all the way to Atlantic City. I don't know, 2.5 hours. He was still staying. He was still in the car, like sleeping, whatever. I went out. I went to play blackjack. I blew $500, I would say, in about 18 minutes, and came back to the car and drove back like 2.5 hours. That's how sickening it kind of got to. Which was really bad. Thank God I kind of like kicked all that, and I'm older and wiser, so to speak. So I understand you can't beat the house, and it's just a losing proposition. I understand all that. I would say these days, maybe at best, one time I'll sit down at a usually not even, but just to kill some time. I'll be in Vegas for an entire series. I won't touch blackjack once. It doesn't even interest me. I'll average once every 2 years for a few $100, maybe at best. So yeah,
You got it under control.
yeah,
Me,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Tell me about poker. When what was it introduced? Who introduced you to the game? So you're going to the casino now. You're familiar with the casino, but when did poker come into play?
Yeah, casinos didn't have poker back then yet. Poker was not around.
What year? What year was that?
I was, you're talking about
90s?
90 in the 90s,
Okay.
96, 97. I mean, if poker was around, it definitely wasn't broadly in the, I mean, I remember because I remember even when I moved to Florida later on, where just the Hard Rock wasn't even a thing yet. It was just in the Seminole tribe where they had the sit and goes, you know. So yeah, so I got into poker, I guess. So I guess when I was probably um, it's somewhere in the 20s. We had a few home friendly games, uh, between friends, whatever, $20
But I'm saying that
games or
you
so,
did
whatever.
you understand what poker is at this point?
No, 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 not at all. But it just seemed more and more exciting that you have so much control because until now, I'm a robot. If it's slots or if it's blackjack, it's like you don't really, there's not too much depth to any of
But
it.
tell me that one incident that introduced you to poker. Was it that home game you showed
It
up?
was,
There's a home game
yeah,
you
it was,
asked what poker was. Like me, I told it 3, 4 times on the podcast. Zynga poker. Online,
yeah,
had no clue
yeah.
what I was doing. My buddy was explaining what flush was, what hand beats what. Start playing, figured the game out, went to the casino a few weeks later, played 2-4 limit.
Yeah.
Nervous, had no clue what I was doing. That's how it started. But I remember the exact moment when I hopped on Facebook, played Zynga. What was the first
So
time you heard poker?
it was a similar thing. So I kind of played like a house game. I kind of played like a house game a few times, and then I found out there's some sort of poker, at the casinos, and it wasn't the kind of poker that we have now. But like I said, in Florida, you only have this thing. So I went to that, not knowing, obviously. But again, I was able to afford it. It's not like a lot of these people that you interview and they're like, I only had $200. Like I said, at 16, 17, I was already making money. Maybe I was gambling in a way, but I was I kind of like I wasn't scared, so to speak. So meaning like what you said. So I did a house game, and then right away, like an idiot, I went to the casino or whatever, and I bought into I don't remember what it was, but I played probably cash or that. obviously losing
Which
and
casino was it? Was it Hard Rock?
yeah, so I think the first time I actually played poker was in Florida, like at least an establishment, not a home game. I played in New York with my friends. Like we would go away for a weekend, we would have a poker chips and we'd play poker. I've done that in my teens, but the first time I actually played poker was probably much later when I moved to Florida. When I moved to Florida, I played another house game, and then over there, I heard that there is some sort of poker going on at South Florida. I originally lived in South Florida, by the way, not here in the Tampa area. I still do. I go back and forth. We can, I'll explain. But yeah, so I played some sit and goes. That was the hot thing back then. I played some cash, and I also played some home games, some crazy home games, some crazy like some Jewish guy just put it together, like major degenning, and God knows what they were raking half the pot, and they provided food and this and that, some underground games. I actually dealt a few games as well. The dealers were making like sick money dealing like a home game. Yeah, so that's kind of like where I got into the scene. Obviously,
Okay.
being a losing player for
We
sure.
got an overall image. Let's
Yeah.
dive into your Hendon Mob and see the beginnings of the beast, Joel
Okay.
D. Joel D. Let me 1 second. Let me share the screen.
I guess I'll take a look as well.
Yeah, we need you to dive back into memory lane.
Yeah. So
2010. You guys can see the screen well.
yeah, let me see.
Yep.
Let's see
2010. You have a 335 buy-in. You made $800. That's the first recorded score. LA Poker Classic. So you were traveling to Vegas already?
No, I didn't travel to Vegas, but I was playing I was playing a little bit, and then I heard there's like a crazy, very low buy-in. The LA Classic, I guess 800. So it's not a low buy-in, but I think that's like the first time like I actually traveled out to play like like a huge again 2010. I don't believe like the Hard Rock wasn't there wasn't poker in Florida. There wasn't that kind of poker. So the LA Classic.
No, wait. 2000. I started in 2007. Tournaments were going because I remember. Shout out to Wally Mata. His first recorded score is 2010. They had series back in those days.
Yeah, but I'm saying there wasn't the big in South Florida, as I remember. I'm not going to be 100% wrong because I wasn't that involved. But I don't think that in 2010 South Florida had like these crazy multi-day tournaments, or did they?
I couldn't tell you. I didn't play. I didn't know what a tournament was at that point.
Exactly.
I was playing straight cash. I had no clue what tournaments were at that point.
I remember. Sorry, I don't remember very many tournaments outside of Vegas, actually.
Right. So I remember back then, LA Classic was like a really big deal where the top prize was huge, and you were able to get in for kind of. They had like I think they're still doing it where you can come in like on like a day one with a smaller amount, or you can come in on like the next day with double. They're still running something similar. But anyways, that was my first like just let me go travel and play like one of these big tournaments, and it was overwhelming. It was crazy. It was the first time walking into like a real 1,000-people tournament, or one of these kind of like what we see today everywhere. But definitely, Hard Rock was not. It was a seminal. We didn't have it. I mean, I might be very wrong, but I don't think.
From what I remember, when I hear people talking, they said something about they used to have like a 500 day every Friday or something, like a single day, not series.
Yeah.
As far as series are concerned, I don't know what went on.
I don't believe in South Florida in 2010 you were able to play a tournament where first prize is going to be $500,000. I don't think I don't believe that they
Ray, when did you start playing tournaments?
A couple of years ago. Wow. Yeah, I was a cash grinder for.
Ray is gonna be next on the podcast, by the way. Ray just came on the scene and he's just crushing. He crushes everything. Let's go through your Hendon Mob, Joel. So, 2010 January, you have this small score. Then the next score comes in May. West Palm Beach, $200 buy-in. You came 7th. Let's see who came first. See if we know anybody.
Yeah, I guess he already had in Palm Beach yeah, there was like a main event for 5. So I guess, yeah, 2012 there was already big tournaments, but I don't think the Hard Rock is what I'm trying to say. I don't think was a thing yet, but there was some, and you know.
The next score comes also in May, 500 West Palm Beach, so same series. Then 2012, so small scores here, nothing to celebrate. But your first big score comes June 2016, so 4 years later. Rio Daily Deep Stack. Oh,
Yeah,
you shipped the Rio Daily.
Yeah, so 2016 might have been, is it the first year? No, I think 15 is when I probably went out the first time to WSOP. Yeah, so 2015 was probably the first time I went out to the WSOP to the series.
So
Yeah,
of all the pros in Vegas, look who are top 2. You and Manny. Shout out to Manny.
Which one are you looking at?
You see Manny. You don't see it on the screen?
I was looking at what's it called? Right.
You see Manny? That's his picture right here.
Right. I never even looked back at that. Right.
Ray, do you know Manny Minaya?
I know of him. I've played with him a few times, but not personally.
Yeah, I had a big, huge flip with him on the Tampa series that I made like 2 years ago. Yeah, and then
Manny's a beast. I'm surprised you guys didn't chop.
We did do some sort of a chop. We did, to be quite honest. Yeah, so there was some sort of a chop there.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
They let you chop.
What?
I don't think they let you chop over there, so you have to.
Right. Right. That's why I said I'll take first, because back then there were some stories, I don't remember, if it's true or not. Allegedly, they once did a chop and the guy just took it and walked out and blah blah blah. I don't know if you ever heard that story. So I heard something like that. So I said I'll do something. There was also like a Canadian in there. We gave him like last or whatever, because they automatically take it. Whatever. So there was some sort of a deal. I took first on paper, I guess. But
you just give him cash.
Yeah, there was some sort of a chop. Trust me, you're lucky Becker's not on the co-hosting, because he would have something to say about my chop.
He would definitely have something to say about that.
Yeah.
So let's recap the years. So you started 2010 first score. Next 4 or 5 years, nothing significant. 2016, you make 33K gross. And then 2018, you make 43K gross. And then 2020 is your big year here. You make 127K.
Yeah, so 2020.
Let's see what happened in 2020.
That's that picture, actually. That picture is that tournament.
Uh-huh.
The profile picture up top.
2020. Damn. First 500 Parks, big stacks, Ben Salem.
Yeah, that's Pennsylvania and Parks.
Yeah.
Wow. 1,400 entries.
Yeah, it was a big one. So you want to hear the story about that one?
Yeah, sure.
So that's definitely my most memorable. Yeah, so I used to go, like, I went to the Borgata a few times, and a few people told me, like, you gotta check out Parks. They run these great tournaments. There's no guarantee, but what was this one, a 500 buy-in, or the one that you're looking at?
Yeah, it's 500. Yeah.
So basically, they ran 2. They had a 500. They said it gets huge, and then I think after that a little bigger one. Anyways, so it's the first time So I decided to go that year. This is right as COVID is beginning. Okay, right pre-COVID, as COVID is developing. So I go there. It's the first time I ever walked in there. And the last time ever, because it kind of shut down after that. But what happened with that one? So first of all, it was a huge field. But when we got down to basically when we got down to 3 players, I had pretty much no chips. It was basically these 2 players had all the chips in play, and I had no chips. And I remember sending out a text. I sent out a text, to my wife, and I'm like, all right, I'm doing pretty good. $500 tournament, I'm getting $40,000. You know, like I said, unless these two people kind of get into some, you know, pissing kind of within like 2 or 3 hands. That guy was in, you know, back then somewhat amateur, not the guy that took second, whatever. But within 2, 3 hands, these people literally get into a war, and the guy that got second place has all the chips. So I'm still out. I haven't gained any chips. Now this guy has all the chips in play. I think they wrote it up on like Poker News as a like an 8 or 9 to 1. I think it was like an 11 to 1. But basically, this guy has all the chips in play. We go heads up. They bring out the trophy. They put it on the table. First of all, I send out a text. I'm like, I just got 80,000. I got an extra 40,000 undeserved. Like I'm never supposed to get second. I'm supposed to get, you know, third. So I'm like, I just got an extra 40,000. I'm thrilled. You know, it's a $500 tournament. It's my first huge score, 80,000. So they put the trophy on the table, you know, and me. And I'm basically, I tell the guy, I don't remember exactly, but I was like, just give me $10,000, and you know, and I didn't think I had a chance. I was like, just give me $10,000, you get the trophy, you get whatever, you know. I was trying to cut some sort of a deal, and the guy like laughed in my face pretty much. He didn't even negotiate. He didn't like whatever. Obviously, you know, I had scraps, and I was like, okay, I have nothing to lose, and you know, and the rest is poker. You know how
You
that
went to
goes.
war.
And yeah, and I ended up getting the trophy, and I ended up
Damn.
getting, and that was a huge score for me back then. That single score was as much as I had all combined. You know, for me that was a huge. I mean, for anyone, it's a hundred
Of
thirty
course,
thousand dollar score. Yeah,
100K. It's such a nice
yeah.
score.
So that's really kind of like where I, you know, started like scoring big, and then I got that also the taste of it. You know, like till you get there, it's like you almost think it's impossible. And you know, when you actually get there, and I'm talking about 1,000 or 1,500 player field or 2,000, you know, those are obviously, you know, almost impossible
It was 1,400. That was
yeah.
right before
So
COVID. COVID started like
yeah,
March 15, March 16, and it was a month before COVID.
yeah. So lucky me. So I'm like, all right, I'm finally on a heater. I'm blah blah blah, and then boom, entire poker shuts down.
He takes it to the extreme.
Yeah.
Like today, our boy Gabe Fuller, shout out to Gabe. He was on the
I
podcast.
By the way, I watched the podcast. I just because I knew I was going to be on. I watched Gabe and I watched Shane. Amazing. I mean, I always see them obviously in the Tampa scene, but I never really knew the depth. I mean, both of those are both those two people are like really studied players, and I have total respect. And I'm going to
They're
play
wizard.
differently now. They're wizards. Yeah, I'm not that.
Ray on top right here is a wizard too, but
Yeah.
we'll get him on the pod. But anyway, so Gabe was on the final table today in Hard Rock Hollywood, top four, final four. The pay jump goes from 70K to 200K first place. If you chop four ways here, you're locking up at least 40, 50K more. So in a situation like that, where it's not life changing, it's a lot of money though. That's like a down payment on a house. In that situation, it's okay to negotiate a chop. But if you're playing a daily at Hard Rock, where if you chop, you make like $300-400 more, and if you don't chop, you know, it's not that money is not gonna matter. But if you're playing for that money in Hollywood, shopping makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but also look at it from a certain perspective. For example, if I'm playing like a daily, you know, derby or hard rock, or you know, first of all, you know, I'm working 9 to 5, 9 to 6. So I'm going to play a tournament just to kill time, whatever. I love the game, obviously. Number one, I love the game, and you know, if we're talking a chop at midnight, where I know it's going to make all the difference of my productivity the next day, which I'm going to make a lot more than what I'm making there, and I get to go to sleep at a reasonable time, and I get to make some money, and I had a blast. Again, it all changes for me because it's not how I rely to make a living. It's not, you know, people say like you don't get to that spot too often. You finally get there. Like it's very different. So I completely understand because I'm going to get a lot of you know shit, and I do from my coach, from my friends, and I've changed these days. It's not like I don't shop the same way unless I get like a really good deal. I mean, I look around the field, and if I feel like I'm, you know, I'm ahead and I have an edge and I'm better than, you know, then obviously I'm not doing a regular chop unless, you know, unless it's beneficial for me. But I'm definitely not against, you know, it's just like I said, it all goes back to I'm not a professional poker player that just plays poker all day and all night. So it's very different. You know, I'm happy.
Joe, let's dive into some of the questions here. I have a bunch of questions for you. Before that, Ray, do you have anything for Joel? What are your thoughts on chopping? Are you a chop Nazi or?
No, I think chopping is generally a good idea, especially if you need the money to survive. And by that, I mean, if you're constantly depleting your bankroll and having a roller coaster, like event to event, I think it's super beneficial because 3 and 4, 5-handed, anything can happen. People can take cards. You can just run bad. You can get aces cracked super easily.
I agree. Anything can happen. Poker. Anything can happen. Literally,
especially 3 and 4-handed. I don't think people understand how much variance there is there. There's very little play because generally you're 30, 40 blinds through the whole tournament for like a lot of the tournaments because the blinds move really fast towards the end.
Agree.
I mean, I have played enough poker to know that I've been in a million spots where you know, where we didn't chop, probably not because of me, because someone else didn't want to chop, and then, you know, then I went from where chop I would have made X, where I'm making nothing. I mean, there's a $170,000 check facing me in Texas. It's very hard to turn down because if I get bust on next, it was probably like, I don't know, 28,000, or even let's call it 50, 40,000. You're talking about $100,000 just to say no. Why? Because even if I am better, which in that field I probably, you know, whatever. Let's assume I'm better. It does, like he said, it just flips in like literally 3 hands. So for you know, so yeah, I've definitely chopped.
It's all about mitigating risk. That's the whole point of chopping. You're taking less risk. Anyway, let's dive into some of the questions, Joel.
Oh, don't give me any hard questions.
No, they're not that hard. Some of the important lessons you've learned throughout your poker career. What advice would you give to aspiring players based on your experience? Somebody coming up the ranks right now.
Say again. Sorry, I was looking.
Important lessons that you've learned throughout the poker career. And I don't know if you can call it career because you've always had income on the side, like something you rely on. But I mean, we can't call you a complete amateur because you have some scores. You've been around. You traveled. You have bigger scores than mine, and I call myself professional.
Yeah. So what I would advise, and what I think is contributes to my success, is the actual balance that I have. Meaning, my first advice would be not to become a professional poker player because it's you know, Carl. I mean, it's an extremely hard profession. It's a very hard profession, and God forbid if you go on a downswing right out of the gate, you know, and you know, so I would never recommend for anyone to become a professional poker player, especially in today's day and age. It's getting harder and harder. You know, now some will make it. You know, there are some of the, you know, Beckers that are jumping in. You know, Clyde, who's a young guy who's off to a really great start. You know, but I mean, unless you're really gonna just go all in and literally study all day and just be ready for the mind fuck of like of a lifetime, you know. I wouldn't recommend it. Like, I don't want to do it. Like, I can technically do it if I want to. Like, I could make the move and just start playing poker. I don't. What I love about what I do is my balance. I have a certain balance in life. I have a certain balance in what I do. And I don't want that life. I don't want that professional poker grind life. I do it sometimes.
That's great advice. That's great advice.
I've done it during the WSOP where I'll go out for a month and a half straight and be like, you know, get that real feeling. Hopping in from one tournament to the next, you bust out. You know, you go to the win, you bust out. You like literally play poker 24/7. You know, it's good. You know, for a short term. I don't want. It's just not the life I want.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, you said it. If you don't have a side income, it's gonna test you a lot.
Yeah.
Like the downswings, when your bills aren't getting paid, you gotta be a pro at managing money before. I think the players that last, because you see a lot of players come in, they start grinding every single day. 6 months in, they're gone. You'll be like, where's that person? Where's that so and so? He disappeared. They're gone. I don't know who said it on the podcast. The game will filter out those guys if your money management is not on point, like you have to account for every penny that goes in and out, you're not gonna last in it. That's besides skill. Like that's beside you being either skilled or not, because a lot of people overshoot their skill level. Most poker players, any poker player you ask, they overtell you that they're way, or they think they're way better than they actually are. So yeah, there's a lot of delusion going in poker. Like
Right.
some players think they make it, but you see them play, you'll be like, this guy's, as Jeremy would say, drawing dead. Like some players
Right.
are drawing dead, especially if they're not putting the. Anybody can get better at poker. You can have natural, just like anything else. Basketball, you have the natural ability, and you have how much work you're putting on the side, on the sidelines, off the tables. So if you're average and you're not putting any time on the side studying and getting better, you're drawing dead.
Yeah, but it's also, even if you, first of all, you need a lot of money to comfortably become a professional poker player. So think about it like a 19-year-old or whatever the age is, a 21-year-old kid who's coming out of a regular job, who's saved up $20,000 or whatever. That's poo-poo. It's nothing. You're, unless you get super lucky and right out of the gate you win like like one of those 15, you win a six-figure, like a $200,000 score. You're grinding what, the little $150 tournaments or cash is
Thing
a whole
is,
other story.
even then, even if you bink 100K score and your money management suck and you have like leaks on the floor, on the casino floor, whether table game,
Right.
slots, whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's not the 100K is not, 100K is not a lot of money. But if you have good money management, 100K could be a bankroll for life. So it depends on what element, what poker player you are, what person you are, and how good your money management is. So I think money management is on top of everything else. Skill, work off the tables. Money management is number one factor that dictates whether you're going to make it or not.
Right, but think about if a young kid comes in, he typically doesn't have $150,000 to start. So it's like he's set up for failure because he doesn't have enough to not play scared money, to play comfortably. How does a young kid have that? So if you're fortunate enough and you really want to get into poker and you happen to somehow have a $500,000 sitting in the bank because you got it somehow.
Playing the low limits, you don't need 150K. We're not going to make it like a dream that nobody can reach. You can. I know some players that grounded up from 4 or 5K. Yes, it's risky. Yes, it's set up for failure, but you can start small, play a low variance like 1-2, start with 1-2, build it up a little bit, then move to tournaments or whatever format you're good at, and just grind it up. It could happen. You don't need that. You don't need 150K. If you're a losing player, 150K is going down to the ground. If you're losing, if you're a winning player, you have a chance to make it. If you have, like, I mean, at least 40 buy-ins, maybe. Like if you're playing $100 to $150 tournaments, what is that? Like 15, 20K, 30K. You can make it. So but you got to work hard.
But if you, I'm sorry, but if you become a professional poker player and you're playing the low limit, the small games, where's the fun? It's like you can build up a business. There's so many other things that you can do that will net you so much more. The whole fun of at least when I go out, is like the excitement of going out to like a $3 million tournament, the $1,500 buy.
I mean, you'll take shots. Yeah, I'm not saying like sticking with $100 tournaments. If Hard Rock has a series, you jump in, you sell some action. There's ways around it. You don't have to be 100% in every time you play a tournament. You build relationships. Networking is another thing. Networking is huge. In life, I'm going to ask you about that too. In life and in poker, especially in poker. Having a good reputation, having a network of people that you can trust, sometimes borrow money. So networking is definitely important. Having people to talk hands with. And it's hard to make friends in poker, by the way. It's there's a lot of characters, a lot of charlatans.
Yeah, so
anyway,
go
ahead.
I mean, to touch on, so I do have a coach that I've had. I mean, I have a very close childhood friend that's just an absolute beast. I mean, he's not really a known name because he doesn't really play. He's an online player and he doesn't really play much live, although he was heads up for a bracelet, WSP bracelet, and got effed. So he got like $500,000, probably like 10 years ago. But he's a beast. I mean, a true beast, an amazing coach. So I do have that. Not only is he a coach, like I said, he's a childhood friend of mine. So I have that help. I started
What's
that
his name? Let's give him a shout out.
Well, his name is Norman. His name is Nachman Berlin. He's a Jewish kid from Brooklyn that like we hung out as kids and as teenagers. And on top of that, he's best friends. Like his absolute best friends, Ari Engel. So like they're like brothers. They're like so. On top of it, if he needs to, which in my case he doesn't need to, but to go up the hierarchy, and also through that, because he's best friends with him, and the last 6-7 years, I've also become somewhat friends with Ari Engel as well, which, just getting any sort of information or any kind of help out of these kind of people is priceless.
Of course.
And Ari doesn't coach me or anything like that. Nachman does, but here and there he'll throw in some things. Not that I'm going to share or whatever, but you take that. I mean, I'll give you like a simple example, which probably doesn't matter. Like, that he tells you little things. Like he says, if you ever bust, no matter if you don't think you're on tilt or whatever, always wait, 20 minutes, 50 minutes before you go back to the cage and rebuy. Like things like that. Just how to handle like emotions and things that are truly so valuable that it's not just there's so many things. I mean, poker, it's a mind fuck. It's a mindset.
Those things that you're talking about are literally half the equation.
Yeah,
People don't understand. Besides variance, besides how you're running at the tables, your behavior, the work you put on the side, all these things matter as far if you're winning or not. Look at Jeremy. The one thing I asked him, his name always comes up, by the way. The one thing I asked him, like, what
he's
changed?
A Tampa boy.
Yes, of course. I said, what changed when you went to Vegas and start crushing everything? He's like, the one thing that changes, I'm not gambling in the pits as much as he used to do it in Tampa. And that will definitely help with your being in a winning mental state. Everything around poker has to be positive. When you gamble and you lose, they say like success in life is about the small wins that you bank every single day. Those small wins, they add up. But when every day you're going to the pits and you're losing like 9 times out of 10, walking out of the casino like a loser, having that mentality is just negative all around. It's not going to help you succeed in poker because the next day you're carrying it on to the table. You're sitting at the table and it's in the back of your head that I lost this much. It's lack of discipline. And it's kind of like you stop respecting yourself. It's being honest with yourself, because it's when you can't control that urge, you lose respect for yourself, and that's going to carry on to the table and it's going to show in your results.
I mean, I know all about that. I mean, for me,
we all do. We all at some phase degen. It comes with the territory for sure.
Yeah, but I also have some like psyche miswiring, which I'm not. I don't have the same brain as you or the norm. I do have real diagnosis that. So I besides well, my main thing is I have what's called unipolar hypomania. So you probably know about bipolar, and bipolar is real scary. It's people that have ups and get depressed and
extreme
have downs.
ups and extreme downs.
So what I have, in a way, obviously you'll look at it as a superpower, but it obviously has downfalls as well. But unipolar hypomania is basically only ups. I can never be depressed. I can never have downs. It's rare in the it's a form. It's called unipolar.
Unipolar, you're on the good side.
So I've never been depressed in my life. I've never been like I can't get down there. So I'm only it's basically elevated mood without the downs.
How did they diagnose you? How did they diagnose that?
So I went to. It's funny because it was during a WSOP, because I've been going. I went to shrink. I went to this. I went to that. Finally, I got recommended to Dr. Freeman. He's a huge in California. I flew out all the way to San Francisco. It's $500 an hour. He's a big, he's an MD, PhD.
You said Friedman last name?
Freeman, Dr. Freeman.
Freeman, Jewish also.
Here, I'll actually tell you. Here, look him up. So his name is.
Becker says, I'm going to tell you what he says about chopping, but go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah. Hey, listen, it's fine. He's made fun of me a lot of chopping, but it all comes down to where.
Man, Jeremy
anyway,
just likes to take shots.
I know. It's fine. We're friends. We're like
just fun and games. Fun and
Yeah,
games.
yeah. His name is Michael Freeman. If you type in Michael Freeman MD, I guess you can look him up. He's he's UCSF school, whatever. He's a mentor. He's everything. Anyways, did you get him?
Becker says it's embarrassing. I said give him a shit about chopping, and then he says it's embarrassing. He's talking about chopping. I said hop on, let's go. He said no, can do. I think he's still playing.
Yeah, he's playing.
But anyway, so you went to Dr. Freeman, and he diagnosed you.
So listen, so I'm in Vegas during the WSOP, so I think it's a perfect spot to go because I'm close to California. I finally set an appointment. He's such a it's fine. So the one time where I set an appointment, I couldn't set a proper appointment. I ran really super deep, so I ended up coming late. He's charged me an extra hour for not being there 500. It ended up costing me $1,500 diagnosed. But anyways, he's the real deal, and he actually pinpointed my full diagnosis. So it's that, obviously coupled with ADHD, which usually goes well together, so that's pretty common.
Joel, when you went to get diagnosis, people will go to get diagnosed when there's a problem. If you're always in a good mood, why did you go? Because of the ADHD? Like you couldn't focus?
Well, because the biggest thing with any problem that one has is really knowing your problem, so you know how to deal with it. So meaning I didn't know exactly what it is. I just knew I wasn't the norm. I mean, I've always been told that since I've been a kid. So knowing your problem is half the solution. Now what's the downfall to all these things? What do you have to watch out from? So, for example, with the Unipolar, so you think it's all great, right? Because it's only up. So the problem with that is because you're kind of like numb to downs, I can lose $1 million and not feel a thing. I'll go to sleep 20 minutes later or whatever. So which means I can lose everything technically because I have that I don't give a shit mentality kind of.
I see.
So yeah. So
being down is kind of like a protective mechanism.
I don't have the it's just I don't feel it. I don't feel negativity. I don't feel nothing really can get me
Does it translate to anything else as far as empathy towards people, or it's not a thing? It's not like if something negative happens to a friend, do you not feel downs either?
I mean,
that would be another issue. That would be like.
I mean, no, you feel, obviously you feel, but I'm saying I'm not going to fall into I'm not going to fall into nothing would really put me into like a real depression.
You're basically Poker's Top G. You know how Top G says like he doesn't believe in depression. I kind of have that because I've been through a lot.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on, pause, because be careful what you say, because it's not that I don't believe in depression, because depression is a very, very real thing from what I understand from the side, from it's real. I just can't really comprehend it. When I hear that someone's depressed, like I really, like people say, like be happy you're alive. Like I truly I really mean that. Like you're alive, you're breathing. Like what is it to be depressed? Even so depression is a real thing. I just can't wrap my head around it.
When Top G, when he says, people take literally what he says. Of course, he knows that depression is a thing. He says he doesn't believe in being depressed because he's a very positive person. I understand what he's not trying to say that depression is not a thing. Of course, depression is a thing. Sometimes it's like wrong wiring. Sometimes you're not producing certain hormones. You're depleted in certain. Of course, it's a thing. But I see what you're saying. But that comes from like a drive that you have to stay positive. Like not everybody has that. You're strong mentally too. It could be your background. It could be genetic. It could be a bunch of things. Yeah, people that don't get depressed, they always see the positive in everything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but actual depression and stuff, that's a psyche. That's a miswire. That's not something really that a person necessarily has control over. So the same applies for mine. What I have, it's not something that I work for. I don't deserve, like I didn't create that. It's just something that I was born and eventually, diagnosed. And I'm not the only one. People have that. Yeah.
Well, Mark, if you want to come on the pod, you're more than welcome to ask Joel any question. All right, Joel, let's dive into another question. We went off the deep end here on were you prescribed any medication, by the way, from?
Yeah, I'm definitely a candidate for anybody I'd go. I'd be 100% candidate for, Adderall, Vyvanse, or Ritalin, all that stuff. I hate it. I don't like drugs. I think it messes with your heart. Now I do take it. I do take it occasionally. believe it or not, what I found has worked for me. So all the big scores that you see, crazy enough, all the big scores that you see, almost every one, I either had an edible or I smoked, and I was gone. I was completely like zoodled. I was
Okay, question. I've asked that question before, and they didn't give me a clear answer. Edibles, you're talking about THC or the actual
yeah,
cannabis? Like,
no, whatever smoke, like in
so how
Vegas.
does it help you at the table? So when you're normal and then you take THC, what is THC doing to your
So
performance at the table?
so this is just for me. I don't like THC, meaning I might have that look, but like I wake up in the morning, I don't touch it. I hate it. It makes me a little paranoid. I don't like it. Like I don't smoke. I don't eat. I do it only for like a big event because it's positive EV for me. It works. I've tried it both ways. What it does to me personally, again, weed is something that will do something different to everybody. It has to do with your brain. Once again, that's why it's a whole wrong. Like they say, oh, an indica, sativa, one get. I can take an indica, which is supposed to knock you up. People take like an indica, right, just to go to sleep. If I take that, no matter what it is, indica, sativa, doesn't matter. I will be wired and up for God knows how long. I just can't go to sleep on it. Meaning because that's my brain. But anyways, what it does to me is, it keeps me completely focused and patient and slowed down. If I don't smoke, I have a lot more. Um, I don't have the same patience. Poker requires a lot of patience, as we know. It's part of the cocktail. I mean, it's there's different things that for me that work where a tournament will go perfect. I mean, in a perfect world, if I take an Adderall or something in that line, an Adderall or Vyvanse or Ritalin, or now they have really like modafinil, which is really designed for kids. They don't want to approve it for adults. I think it's because the business of Adderall it's just too big of a business. But it's not a methamphetamine because I don't like methamphetamines. It's speed basically. It's fucking. It'll kill you. It's bad. But in a perfect.
It's dosage related too. Like when you take Adderall, how much you're taking, how much you're prescribing, how much you take.
So I don't take it on a I don't take it. So I've had some tournaments where I would take some Adderall and combined it with either a little edible or a small hit, just because they balance each other. Again, for me, they balance each other because one makes you really like the Adderall will really get you kind of like maybe too much. It creates a really nice balance. Again, for me, the weed would kind of like loosen it up a little bit. So that's a perfect cocktail for me. Obviously, combined with what I believe is like I usually don't eat during. I'm not fasting, and that's a theory. Some people believe you should be completely full and you should always eat during time. Some people like to not eat. I'm the one. I like to kind of like I'll have a breakfast. In a perfect world, I'll eat breakfast, and I will take some drugs possibly, and I'll go and I'll play a tournament and not eat. Usually throughout tournament, I'll be way sharper, kind of like if I don't have food, especially if not eating healthy food, which these days I'm just bad with that. Um,
Interesting. Let's
yeah.
let's move on, Joe. We have a bunch of questions still. Um, my next question was about focus, but you covered that. How do you cultivate a strong mental game as far as like dealing with swings, during a session? So let's say you have like 90, 80, 90 big blinds and you lose a couple pots. Now you're down to 20, 30. Are you like, you almost feel like the tournament is over, or you just fight back? What's the mental process there? And how do you cultivate that?
So, so one of the great, I shouldn't be repeating too many things of what I get coached or what I learned on. But one of the things, actually, which my coach, which Nachman Berlin said, which is amazing, is like, um, but you gotta be messed up in the brain to really kind of like own it up. It's like imagine like if, like you said, if you have 100 bigs, and within two hands, or whatever, you have 22 bigs or something. I mean, it's just how do you control that? Um, Now imagine if you had two bigs, you're down to two or three bigs, and
Hmm.
you just went all in, you tripled up, you just went from three bigs to 21 bigs. You have the same 21 bigs that you had from going from 100 to 21 bigs, where you went from three bigs to 21 bigs. Like what a different mental state that is, right? Like if
Hmm.
you went from three bigs to 21 bigs, like you're all there. You're like, I got this. I can do. You've been there. So you kind of have to. mentally put yourself there. If you're going from 100 bigs to 20 bigs, just own it up and imagine you just had 4 bigs and you were almost out of the tournament, and you actually ran it up to 22 bigs. It's a mental state. I mean, you know,
I mean, it's not easy. It affects everybody, but in a different way, of course.
listen, anything helps. I mean, it's not easy. You just lost 80 bigs. I mean, it's kind of like it is what it is. You can't change that, but you know, you have life. If we all learn something from tournaments, is like how powerful just being alive in a tournament is, right?
Being alive, that's it.
Being alive in a
Staying
tournament.
in.
I mean, I personally, everyone has the same stories, but how many times have we been down to like just scraps and we end up winning it or final tabling it? So you always have to keep that in the back of your mind. You have life at a tournament. Don't just blow it. Don't tilt it off because sometimes you're playing great poker and you're still floating the entire tournament plenty of times with a 25 big blind, you know, average. So it's kind of like just you lost that, you know, 120, you know. But again, it's mental. Everybody's brain is different. Like I said, I have some different mental wiring and I can just, you know, whatever. But yeah, some things are just not easy, I guess.
You said tell us a little bit about your profession. Your main income. You said something about coins one time, selling coins.
Yeah, so what I do, I guess the fancy word and real term would be I'm a numismatist. I deal in numismatics, which is I deal in like rare coins, gold, silver, collectibles. I deal a lot in coins.
You have a
I,
physical store.
yeah, I have a couple of locations, physical store where you know where I buy and sell. You can kind of easy way look at it as a pawn shop, but I'm not really a pawn shop. I don't pawn, I don't loan, I just buy and sell. So and I also deal a lot in gold and silver and bullion, where I'm trading bullion, gold and silver. You know,
What's the
it's
word? What is the technical? You said bullion. What is bullion? What does that mean?
bullion, sorry, yeah, I'm just throwing out. Bullion is basically gold and silver. You know, people like to hold on to gold and silver, collect gold, buy gold. You know, rich people, they put a certain percentage of their net worth, whatever it is, into gold, silver, a hedge against inflation, or you know, just for uncertainty. They like to have some sort of sound money, I guess. A certain percentage of their money in gold and silver. It's called bullion. If it's just gold and silver, it's bullion. Rather rare coins, it's kind of like numismatic coins. So again, these are all terms of you know, I guess the average person might not know. Yeah, so I deal in that. It used to be my hobby. I started out, I was collecting stamps when I was younger. I went to coins from there. And it was my hobby. It still is my hobby. So I'm a coin collector myself, and I enjoy it very much. And eventually, I just turned it into a business, and I had a business in South Florida, and then about 15 years ago or so, or whatever, in Dunedin, I ended up buying a well-established coin shop that's been here since 1980. Before that, I didn't know what Dunedin means. I never came to this area. You know, St. Pete, Clearwater, like where I'm hanging out here now most of the time. So I was introduced to this area probably about under 15 years or 12 years or something like that. I bought an established business, and then I ended up getting stuck here. I had employees, whatever. Now I'm kind of like running it. I'm the main whatever, and yeah. So you know, that's kind of like what I'm busy with. You know, yeah, I'm very involved in that. So for me, it's not worth it to leave on a Monday morning or Tuesday. Like I just played in Hollywood. I was just at the Hard Rock playing the 400 opener this weekend, and you know I min cashed whatever. But then they had another tournament, the $400 tournament. You know, the
Mhm.
one that, you know, shout out to Tom. He got like I think sixth or whatever. He's on a heater. Um, um, but I wanted to stay so badly um, to play that, but I knew that it's going to go till 3 in the morning. There's a good chance, most likely a chance, that I'm going to bust out till midnight before the cash. It'll mess up my whole night. I can't make it back to Tampa, and it just messes up. So that's my bounce. So I kind of drew the line. It's funny. I was out with my daughter. I was having a great time, and I was like, should I play it or not? And she's like, she calls me Ta, and you know, Dad, that's in Jewish. She goes, no, don't play it. Stick to, you know, whatever. The only time I actually do make exceptions is in the South Florida series, is where I would play in the middle of the week, because there's enough reason for me to be there because my kids are in South Florida as well. So there's enough reason where I can justify losing money, not working, um, and being there. So in South Florida, I do make an exception where I will sometimes be there in the middle of the week. And obviously, if I ever make day threes where it carries into Monday and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm just going on. So just cut me off or ask or whatever because, it's
I'm
what's
gonna go to the questions from the chat real quick, and then we're gonna dive into some one-hand history on Facebook between Bonimo and the Sicko Adamo, and we're gonna break it down together. But let's go to the questions from the chat a little bit. Jimmy Farnsworth on Facebook asks, "Are you related to Charles Manson?" He always has out of line questions. I said on Facebook, I said, yeah, it's his uncle.
Okay, so you already answered. I guess I don't have a better answer.
You don't have to go there, yeah.
I don't have
Jeremy Becker. Jeremy Becker on Facebook asks, "How much does he lose per year on average?" Wow. Way out of line.
I guess the short answer to that would be less than what he spends in a year on massages, I guess.
Oh.
We'll leave it at that.
Max Payne.
Or probably
Ryan Hogan. He's going to be next on the podcast.
Oh, nice, yeah.
On Facebook asks, "Who is your favorite player to swap with and why it's me?" That's the first part.
Yeah, we've done some swap. I'm done with swapping. I've lost in every swap. The whole thing with swapping is I've been stuck since that $130,000 in Parks in Pennsylvania was my first. I just met this guy, a Jewish guy from Canada, or whatever. We were talking, and we both made deep day twos. And I never won a big tournament. Obviously, that was my first one. So I was like, "Do you want to swap?" I don't remember if it was 2%, 3 or 5, up to 5, whatever it was. It was obviously Max Payne. I went till the end, so I had to pay him like $3,000 or whatever.
Not too bad.
No, I understand, but since then I've been chasing it, and every swap I do, and I've done a lot of swaps where the guy is way ahead of me in chips. Like I thought it was a decent deal. The guy's a good player. I don't consider myself as such a great player, so I'm gladly. I actually had Becker only swapped with me once, and he had to pay out, and he's like, "F you, I'm never whatever." But yeah, so I'm down on swaps, so I think I should just quit. But yeah, me and Ryan, we definitely swap.
Shout out to Ryan, by the way. Also, I have a diva demand. I'm not coming on unless Becker is co-hosting. Fair enough. Tampa Poker on Instagram says, "This kid, Tampa Poker." Shout out to Tampa Poker. I asked him once on Instagram. I said, "I follow you on Instagram, and he posts pictures from like the tournaments at Hard Rock, tournaments at Silks." But I said, "Do I know you?" So instead of introducing himself, he said, yeah, we probably played together once, but he didn't tell me who he is. So he's still incognito. I don't know who Tampa Poker is.
Meaning that I post on what's called? You do.
No, I see his post on Instagram, and I asked. He has a page, but no name, no nothing, no picture of him. So I don't know who he is. And he said, yeah, we played together before, but I don't know who he is. But anyway, he asks, or actually he says, legend. About you, so he must know you.
Definitely not. So I mean, some people think that. I mean, it's really nice. I'm not trying to be humble or anything. I'm just not. I don't study enough. What's GTO? How do you eat it? I'm not in that caliber.
We're gonna get
players
there.
At all.
We're gonna see.
Please don't, because I'm just gonna look bad. But go ahead.
No. I mean,
it is what it is. I'm not sugarcoating anything.
Colin Nickerson on Twitter says, "Made a final table in the September series with Joel. Interested to hear this one." And then his question is, when you're playing big fields, it's pretty common that the players get tougher as you get deeper. How do you adjust your ranges and exploits from the first 10 levels to day 2 and 3? Reasonable question. If you want me to repeat it, let me know. So basically saying when you get deeper, the players are tougher. How are you adjusting your ranges and exploits?
So part of it is I think like kind of try to do a little bit of the opposite of the norm. So a lot of people tend to play super loose in the beginning because it's meaningless. You just whatever. So play a little tighter in the beginning. And loosen up actually when it comes to day 2, when it comes to the tougher. That's when you kind of like don't play scared money. it all comes down to don't play scared money, which I'm not playing scared money, because as soon as I bust out that, I forget about it 4 minutes later and I go back into work, and it's like, so I guess I have that, but I think playing scared money is just and it took me a while too. Even though I can afford it, I still was playing at some point scared money because I never wanted to bust the tournament. Nobody wants to leave the tournament. It's just a good place to be, and like we never want to leave it. But I think what it takes is really to just and if you get a bad draw and you have a bunch of top players, I mean, it is what it is. You still have to play. You still have to play the same game. You can still bluff those people. You can still get a read on their bluff. But hopefully you get a draw and you see who are the people that are playing scared money, because you're always going to sit at a table in day two, and even especially in day three, the closer and further it gets, you're going to get people and you can just see they're playing absolute scared money, and you just pounce on them. You just take advantage of that because they never got there, or they get there once in a while and they're scared. I've seen crazy. We all have. So
that's a good point. Playing scared money is that in poker you can't play scared in general. When you're too tight, it doesn't give you. You're not going to build a stack. You're just going to blind up.
And people become tighter as deeper and later they get. It becomes more serious, and they get more and more scared. So they're kind of like not making correct plays that they would if they if they didn't have that kind of mindset.
Yeah, so, and picking off the blinds and annies on day two it's crucial. You do it once per orbit without having a hand, because hands are not going to come that often, especially if the structure is like somewhat turbo-y. In a slow structure, you can sit down and wait for hands. Ticketmaster asked here in the chat, so interesting. Never had any of that, but my friend never plays poker often. He's up 250K CAD. I don't know what CAD means. He's up 250K.
Canadian.
Oh, up to 150K Canadian in 2 months from taking Adderall, both tournaments. Wow, sick. Georgie asked.
It'd be bad. Everyone's gonna start taking Adderall now.
Yeah, I know. We're promoting Adderall. We should get at least free sample.
I actually barely take it, just to put it out there. I'm supposed to. I get it prescribed. I should 100% take it, but I actually don't. I take it when I really have to. I try not to.
Georgie asks, how do you handle yourself when card dead with 10 big blinds, about 3 to 6 from the money? So how are you playing the 10 big blind stack when you're close to the money?
When you're close to the money, obviously you have to respect the money, and you have to tighten up. I mean, what's the question? I mean, obviously I tighten up and I really wait for a good spot. I just had it at the Hard Rock 2 days ago at the opener. We were close to the money, and I was in somewhat that spot. I had about a little over 10, and I was folding. I picked off a little bit, and then we were 3 away. I mean, we were probably just about 3-4 away, and it was folded to me, and I was probably like later button, and I had ace king suited, and I jammed all in. I mean, it's a jam there because on the bubble normally yes you would open or whatever, but I guess in that either way. But I bust, but it's just too good of a hand to not go with it. But yeah.
Did you get called or no?
No, it got folded. I picked up, and I picked up a few more, and I took it all in today too. I did good. I mean, I know nobody cares about bad beats, but I mean, my bust out was basically ace king spades against ace king suited against king queen, and king high flop.
We know the rest.
Yeah, we know the rest of the river, right?
Precious Ticketmaster says precious metals always a good investment. Yes, it's true.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yes,
it's not as simple.
Ticketmaster asks again, would you say it's softer playing in Vegas than Florida or anywhere else?
Well, Vegas obviously is the toughest place to play. I mean, it's got to be all the crushers, the real crushers are in Vegas. I mean, the best spots are if you can get away from, obviously Vegas, needless to say, but even if you just find a soft spot. There is plenty of it that the real crushers are not gonna go there. It's just not worth it for them. They're not traveling. So if you can find, that was my Parks, kind of my big score. That was Texas. There were soft spots. There were good opportunities.
Ray, do you have anything?
I would say, do you go in a tournament knowing how many binds you're going to buy in, like if you bust out or
Good one.
I've been challenged. I've been going back and forth for the longest time now. What would be best for me to start from the beginning, sort of? And I see you've asked that question a bunch, Carl. Or to late reg or max late reg. So I'm still so you know. So if it's a good, all right. So first to answer, if it's a good juicy tournament, the amount of buy-ins don't really matter. I mean, every time you bust out, it's a new tournament, and might as well be a tournament from 2 weeks ago. It doesn't matter. You bust, and guess what? There's a good tournament happening right now. You go and you buy in again if you have the money, obviously. But the big buy-ins, they add up, and yeah, I do limit myself. So I like to come in a little late, not super early, because more than too often we can be out in level 2, level 3. That's just too common. But on the small to mid-range buy-ins, I don't really limit myself, unless I come super late. Then I'll play one late, and then I'll wait for the clock to run out, and I'll just jump in max late reg. For a while, I was doing a lot of max late reg. I've had great success with it, so I still don't know for me which way is better. I think the better of a player that you are, it makes sense for you to go in from level 1, because you have an edge, you have an advantage. If you're not that good of a player, and I don't think I am, the later you get there should be better, because you don't have to deal with all the bad decisions that you possibly will make, all the suck-outs, all everything else. So for me, probably it's more profitable to come in late, or even super late, or max late, but for the real crushers, they come in early and they pick up a lot of soft players, and they build up a stack. And I do that as well, but I don't.
Ray, what's your approach for either early regging or late regging? What do you prefer, and what works for you?
I prefer to come in around 60 or 80 big blinds, generally speaking, and play from there. Sometimes I'll come in right from the beginning, but generally by level 3 or 4, it cuts out basically 2 hours of your day, and you're not stuck playing 12 hours sometimes. So
it's a good way to look at it. That's kind of like my approach. Level 3, level 4. Later than that, you're kind of short. You don't want to start with like 40 big blinds, and you don't want to start with like over 100 big blinds, where one cooler can, put you out of the tournament. And like Jeremy Becker said, doubling up early, so what? Like he said it exactly verbatim. Yeah, doubling up when it's like level 2, it doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean much. Yeah, you're playing more comfortable, but it doesn't double your chances of winning the tournament.
Yeah, I mean,
let's watch the hand history and discuss it a little bit.
So here's the deal with that.
Yeah,
I've seen that video. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, as good or bad as a poker player I am, I know I'm good enough of a poker player not to like analyze or have any comments on two of the greatest in the world.
Joe, we're just gonna three guys like sitting in the back next to the cafeteria talking poker. We're not gonna dive deep. We're just gonna talk a little strategy as far as like what are you doing in the blinds, because the hand we're gonna watch is small blind versus big blind. Like I'm sure you have an overall strategy, and don't humble yourself too much. You have almost close to $1 million in earnings. That didn't happen by accident.
I understand, but you're dealing with people that aren't playing at any sort of level that we are playing. I mean, you're talking about Bonomo, who's what, ranked second? He's like the best in the world practically, and Adamo, which is and the other guy, which is like I love watching him. He's like one of the greatest beasts out there. So yes. So their level, their head, like there's so many other things that go in, which is just not standard poker.
That's the thing is, we're not critiquing their play. We're just explaining what they're doing and why they're doing it. That's all. We're not, of course, we're not at their level, but we're just there's an overall strategy: small blind versus big blind.
The best part of that video, if you really want to entertain the people, probably more than what I have to say.
That's what we're here for, to entertain a little bit. Yeah.
Don't pause it. Just let it run through. That suspense of 5 minutes in the tank, where is just priceless. Any poker player should. That suspense is crazy. I've watched it like.
We don't want to waste 5 minutes. We'll kind of have
It's not a waste. It's the most enjoyable 5-6 minutes. Any poker
player
can watch.
We have other stuff to discuss, Joel.
This is more fun than discussing shit with me. Trust me.
Okay, this is, I'm going to set up the hand and we'll play it through. It's Bonomo versus Adamo. The blinds are, let me see 1 second. Okay,
I don't know, but it has some features.
Let's set up the hands. The blinds are 60K, 120K, 3 left. So it's final table. Adamo has 16.2 million. What a beast. He has like over 100 big blinds. And he has like 130 big blinds, a little less. And then Bonomo has 4.6 million, which is exactly a little less than 40 big blinds. So Adamo covers Bonomo big time. He has like 4x his stack. So small blind versus big blind. Adamo decides to open 9 deuce off, which is this is where we're gonna dive into the strategy afterwards. We're gonna watch the video first. So he raises 9 deuce. Bonomo just defends, just call. I think he sizes. Let's play the hand, see how much he sizes.
A big bluff.
Yeah, Adamo
You gotta fast forward a little because it gives it a.
And gets a call out of Bonomo from.
Yeah, I've seen this before.
He also knows that he's a very skilled and talented player. So if he had the option and ability to rematch him here tonight, I think he would be well up for that challenge.
10 for Bonomo in the flop. Adamo's chances are few. Anything from this on out would be a big bluff.
Yeah,
Check,
Adamo recognizes that when he opens from the small blind and gets a call out of Bonomo from the big, that this will hit a lot of Bonomo's continuing range. So it did look like he was ready to give up on the flop. We'll see if this turn card changes anything. But
so yeah, he's open-ended, but only the bottom end works for him, right? Adamo, do I have that read right? Maybe, yeah. No,
if he
didn't have the 9,
then
so yeah.
Bonomo will.
Look at the state Adamo gets in. This is a lot of hard work. Being in this state, in this zone for a long time is a lot of mental work. And when you're in this state, you just see things and feel things at the table that normal people can't. And it's dangerous. Like, look at this face. First of all, you're not getting any reads. You don't know if he's strong, if he's weak. Like when people during a hand where you're looking and your body language says a lot if you're strong or not, people don't recognize this. And especially playing against Bonomo. This guy's like a human radar. Like he's going to pick off. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said there's one problem. Everything he's saying about Adamo is one problem. He's playing against Bonomo. So it's like this guy just he's perfect. No, Bonomo's perfect. Like he doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't make mistakes. He's absolutely perfect. So
I agree. So flop Jack 10-3 rainbow. It goes check check. Turn is a queen. Of course, Adamo here is playing his range. He's not playing 9 deuce. He didn't open 9 deuce to make a hand. Like he knows he's not gonna make a hand. And this is where we dive in strategy. Ray, interrupt or you can dive in here if you want. In general, in the small blind, we're playing like a mixed strategy. Some people like to open a lot, like a wide range of hands, mostly like a polarized range. So they're opening. You can either do linear or polarized. A polarized range is opening complete trash, like 9 deuce is one of them. So hands that play horribly post flop, and they're playing the premium hands, of course. All the suited broadways, ace king, ace queen, king queen, queen jack, jack 10. All suited and unsuited. So some playable hands, premium hands, and complete garbage, but nothing in between.
Carl, just to add to this, they're also 3-handed.
Yes.
At this point.
Yes.
We're opening a lot more hands.
Correct.
A lot more they're being played.
Correct.
And also to add, there's history too between these two.
And another factor to add, there's risk premium. I'm going to show you a chart later. Adamo, if he gets out of line in a spot, he doesn't have risk to bust. Bonomo has a lot to lose, while Adamo doesn't have anything to lose. So no matter what Adamo does in this hand, he can't bust the tournament. Bonomo has a lot to lose because he only has 4 million. So that's another factor that plays in the hand. So let's continue. A queen on the turn. So Adamo picks up an open-ended straight draw. Let's see what he does on the turn.
We'll have
Right.
two pair.
Right. So give Bonomo 2 pairs. Okay.
And before we continue, what's your overall strategy? I'm going to ask both of you. Joel first. What's your overall strategy when you're in the small blind, or just in the blinds? What's the overall strategy? Are you opening just the good hands, like the playable hands? And what sizing are you using in general?
I mean, we're not just doing anything, you know, in poker. Obviously, in order to stay balanced, we can't do, you know, we have to do the unthinkables, and we have to do you know, we have to make sure that we're mixing everything up and balancing it. So there's no, to me, I mean, there's no just opening or just check, or you know, I think everything needs to be. You know, needs to be pretty balanced. Otherwise, you're giving away the game. Oh, Ramba.
Now reaching.
What did he have? What did he have on the?
That's $1 million. $1,130,000? No, one. Okay, a little more.
60.
Took an extra orange.
Yeah, and this sizing is really intended to target a lot of Bonomo's one pair hands. Certainly, I don't think he expects Bonomo, of course, to fold any 2-pair type of combos, but if Bonomo had a Jack X, had a 10X, and even if he turned a Queen X, it would be hard to continue against this sizing. But the little hiccup here is that Bonomo has that straight draw to go with his 1 pair.
Before we got interrupted, so I was asking about what are you guys doing small blind, big blind? Joel, what's the strategy small blind, big blind? Do you have a strategy? Are you opening a lot of hands? Are you limping a lot of hands?
Oh, so I mean, my answer was kind of a little just general, where it's like just like with a lot of spots and everything, it's player dependent as well as balance. So it's not like I'm doing just something. You know, having a nice balance is gonna keep people on their toes and not give away your game. And player dependent, to me, if I do have some sort of an edge and some skill level, which I am going to take, you know, is more of the people person. I am very good with tells, with reading. I have a lot of things up my sleeve which I'm not going to just share, but I that's my specialty. So if
Can you share at least like 1 or 2 things that you look for?
Probably not, because the main people that watch this stuff is a lot of the Tampa crowd, and I'm not, and it's not, you know, but I have worked on that. First of all, I've just the kind of person I am, and I've been a businessman, I've been a salesman, I've been wheeling and dealing, I've been so that is where my edge is. It's not, I don't study, you know, yeah. So definitely, I'll pick off people. I'll go with my read for what I think. So yeah, I definitely have very strong edge over there. If there's somewhere an edge where I'm gonna take credit for, that's, you know, yeah.
So you're kind of like an old school player. You're good at reading people, because of your background dealing with people, doing business.
And also when I'm in the zone, and this is a big deal that you'll see me. Like if everything goes well, if you look, I'm always paying attention to like every single detail. Meaning not just when I'm in the hand. Regardless, there's so much information. I'll share this at least, so for people. One of the biggest mistakes that people make, and I see plenty of people doing that, is while they're playing, they're like even if they're watching poker-related stuff or whatever, you're just like, it's amazing how much profit, how much you're giving up. You'd be surprised the what you can get out of just simply being zoned in. And when it's on Carl, no matter where you are, you're folded. You look exactly from the beginning to end what he did. You go to the next person, you stare him down, up and down, exactly what he's doing, and then you see. You just simply pay attention to everything. Not just me. Anyone will pick up so much value in that, and then it will come in handy when you're up against the person. So that's a very important thing. Most people, not the pros, but I'm saying your average Joe Schmo or even better players, they feel like They literally don't pay attention. You can see some people have the excuse like, oh, they stay out of trouble that way. If they're watching a movie, they're watching a video. It's the absolute stupidest thing that you can do is watch a movie or just especially watch like Poker Go or something like that. It's like everything requires so much attention. How can you do both? That's just me. If you came to play, if you came to make money, and especially when you're playing for hundreds of thousands of dollars or for millions of dollars, like where else would your mind be? Where else? Like what else can you do better? That's more positive.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you said. Because I'm doing that. I'm doing that.
Yeah, I'm not. Obviously, I'm not. You're a pro. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about you see at the table, and it's just and that's part of where you're going to pick up tons. I mean, I there is a book that I read. I don't read much, but it was audio, so I can give that. It's I actually have a Verbal Poker Tales by Zachary Elwood. Yeah, so I mean, whatever information you can definitely get some stuff out of that. I'm very into that with
well said.
that area.
Ray, what's your strategy? Small blind, big blind?
Generally open range. It depends. Like it shifts. If I have limpers, generally go a bigger size, but generally just opening and 3-betting range.
Without limpers, like let's say it's folded to you, what's the general? Are you raising polarized or are you raising a linear? Like
it depends. Generally,
So you're mixing. Okay.
Yeah.
So it depends who's in the big blind. If they're sticky, if they're not, if they fight back, if they don't. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't like the people that just play ridiculous pots from small blind, big blind with like marginal hands. Like the pot will get to like 80, 90 big blinds. They fight back just because they don't give you credit. So yeah, a lot of mistakes are happen blind on blind. Let's continue watching the hand. So turn here, Adamo chooses pot. He literally bets pot, and Bonomo obviously is not going anywhere. Pair and open-ended straight draw. Of course, you're never happy in this spot because you know you're gonna almost commit on the river. Like the pot is so bloated now with his call. Pot would be like 3.3 million, and how much does Bonomo have or has behind? When he calls this, he'll have a little bit over pot, I think. Let's see.
I think he has an open-ended straight draw, and king's generally good there for him too.
Jack again on the end. Bonomo best with his 2-pair. Maybe a tool.
Look at Adamo's given nothing. Because a lot of people, like when they brick
Adamo did not
river, you can see like they get deflated. This guy's
That's
like a statue.
That's what the best. That's the best of the best.
Yes.
I think the thing about Adamo that's so great to watch is you always have the feeling that he wants to go for it.
Yeah.
So he could possibly go for it. And that keeps us on the edge of our seats as viewers because some players, they're just going to give up. But Adamo,
he always looks like there's something's about the drop, like you said.
Something mischievous about the drop. That's the feeling you get from him.
Are always turning. And if there's a chance he could win the pot, you know that he's somebody who will try to go for it a lot. I don't know about this particular situation as played.
He has surrendered after.
Oh,
wow.
Yep. This guy right here.
The ultimate pressure from Adamo.
Bonomo has exactly pot size behind. Exactly pot size.
You don't think that was calculated? That was
calculated. Oh, of course it was. Of course it was.
And now must figure out this puzzle.
Okay, here we gotta fast forward through this agony. This is called the blender, fellas. If you don't know what the blender means or is, this is the blender. Is when somebody is in a really tough spot, and I'm sure there's a big pay jumps here.
You missed
the pressure. I did allow my live read to sway my decision when it's that close. of a decision, and sometimes you're wrong and sometimes you're right, and you have to live with that. So.
And it's Justin who's sweating, not Adamo.
Adamo is sweating a little bit. Like you can see it in his lip, like right there, bottom lip. You see that?
Oh, wow.
What a call!
Wow.
Turn it over.
My decision when it's
Like
and
you
you
can
have
see
to
it
live
here.
with that. So
You see this?
I highly recommend it for whoever hasn't seen this to watch the entire 10 minutes, because it's the most, that's all the fun right there is and I watched it 5 times back to back. It's just wild. That's the most important part of it. It's just,
of course,
it's sick. But Bonomo is a beast, and Bonomo did get reach from him. As much as you think that me and you can't put together a puzzle and get certain reads from Adamo, Bonomo is just too good, and obviously he came to the right result, which is, it's sick. It's absolutely sick,
100%.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like either a bluff or.
By the way, we got one last question from the chat on the last post I shared on Facebook. I think Neri asked it. Shout out to Neri Sanchez. Oh, Neri said this guy can play. I said he's
Bonomo and Adamo.
No, Neri is talking about you. Ray, you have anything to add?
So in final table play, are you more concerned about laddering or winning? Like, let's say 7-handed.
I mean, it all depends. It depends. It really makes a difference of the size, what kind of tournament it is, what kind of money's at stake. Sometimes ladders are huge. It depends what you're risking for what you're getting. I mean, ultimately you want to win. I mean, obviously that's the end goal of anything. But
basically, in general.
But if you're in a certain ICM situation where you can only ladder up, or ladder. Let me tell you something. And this is true. When I at the Isles at the Harris, where I won the WSOP ring, I was there. I was playing the 1100. They said we're gonna bag once we make the money. I really wanted to go back Monday to Tampa. So once they made the money, they said we're gonna play 3 more hands, and I didn't have a lot of chips. All those 3 hands, I really got involved with each hand, trying, because we already made the money. I didn't have much chips, and I was just trying to get involved, either run up some chips or just get my day back at work. I ended up bagging a small bag, and when I got back, I already lost my Monday. So at that point, I was really truly looking at ladders, because I'm like, I'm stuck here on a Monday. I'm not working. I'm not Purdue, whatever. So I was like, I was actually looking at the screen. I was like, all right, let me try to make an extra $2,000, an extra $3,000. Let me make it work. And I literally laddered up to the ring, and ultimately that's the WSP ring. But my intentions really in the beginning was, I didn't see myself like making it till the end, winning the ring. Like, I mean, it's hard, right? I mean, it's at that point I was really looking at to make it profitable for me, because I have other ways of producing, making profit. So for me, it's like, I'm already stuck here. I'm already here. I really worked hard on laddering up, and I was kind of like tightening up and didn't take certain spots and blah, blah, blah. Ended up working out for me. And, that was my first WSP ring, which was nice. If I'm putting up $1,500 and I have a shot of making $1 million, I got to do everything that's in my power to
have
get
an edge.
There. Yeah. So like, if I have the ability while I'm sitting there anyways to just stare at every single minute thing that every person does, because I know for a fact it's going to make me millions in the long term. It's going to make me why wouldn't I do that? What else? That's why I don't play 9 to 5, because I get distracted. I'm wheeling and dealing. If I ever do play, it's terrible. Like, my phone is always ringing. Like, I'm a businessman, so it's like, it's hard for me to play on a Monday 9 to 5. But that's my thing, though. I play on weekends, and I'm guilty of it as well. You'll see me sometimes. I'm just not in the zone. and I'm busy. I'm on the phone. I'm texting. I'm doing stuff and whatever. But it's just giving up a little bit of equity at a time. Every time you look down at your phone, you're busy with something. You're giving up a little bit. Whatever you're giving up $10, $20. It's just that's the reality. You're missing, and we're not even going to talk about the mistakes that you're missing. That somebody just said all in and you didn't see it, and you're throwing some chips because you didn't pay attention. You didn't see the all in, and it fucking costed you your tournament because you had people had blasting headphones. They can't even hear, like, how many times are you at a table where the guy just missed the all in and
I've
he just
done it
committed
before. I've
everyone.
done it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Ray, where are some of the exploits you're using lately? Ray, our boy here, makes every final table. Like he's been grinding for like only a couple of years. He's already at what's your Hendon Mob looking like? 250K?
I don't know, something like that.
Here, since we're talking about this, let's pull up Ray's Hendon Mob and see how impressive it is. I made final table with him in the main event.
Prior to that, I was just a cash grinder, so for quite a.
That's my question. How long you been around, Ray?
I started playing in 2001.
Okay.
So a long time.
Oh wow. Okay, but you just started playing tournaments.
Yeah. Where I started focusing on tournaments is probably last year. So really 2023, I focused on tournaments.
That's the staple on the podcast. Let's rate the local rooms, since both of you grinded in Hard Rock, Tampa, and Derby, Silks. What do you got, Joel? What do you think about the rooms from 1 to 4, best to worst?
I've been Silks for a while. It's funny. I just went there while I was waiting because you were in the Hard Rock, so I went to the Silks. Oh my God, it's. So it depends what you're rating, really. I mean, I guess until the Hard Rock.
Everything. Everybody sees it from a different perspective. So everything from the aesthetics of the place, the supervisors, dealers, the whole experience.
Obviously, the Hard Rock is the Hard Rock, so they have the. If you look at the whole picture, obviously the Hard Rock is always going to come in first. But while they weren't serving food during the week, that was horrible. So that's where I would kind of like pick Derby. So Derby definitely was for food. All their food is amazing, by the way. They have really good food.
You made a comment last time, and it was like new to me because everybody used to say that Silk's food is on point, because I think the chef in the back is a culinary student, like he's a professional.
Silk's only has garbage. They have like burgers and hot dogs. I mean, at least when I'm not much in Silk's, but when I was there, I couldn't eat it. I was hungry and I didn't want to eat any of that crap. There's actually there's an Asian guy that goes around. He owns a Chinese restaurant. He personally, that's how bad the food is, that he goes around to the tables and takes orders, and the Silks lets him do it, and then he goes and picks it up. He's obviously making a lot of money. He gambles a lot. That's how bad the food is, that he has to do that. That food is great, but the actual Silks, it's like hot dogs and garbage and burgers, like fast food joint. It's nasty. So definitely, unless they change something that I'm not aware of. Derby, on the other hand, their food is amazing. I've never had any bad food at Derby, and everyone pretty much that I ever spoke to agrees. Like, all the food is absolutely amazing. So definitely that's a huge plus. Silks is probably the best value in the tournament. It's the biggest fit. I mean, I was just there. I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying I sat at a table. I don't know if it was just my table. Every single hand was either 4 or 5-way lip, or open to 7-8x. Just open 7-8x. I sent you one pic. It was just so probably to make money, it's probably going to be Silks, because you're going to get the worst players. Overall experience obviously is Hard Rock. Actually Derby, I mean, I don't really play cash, but Derby has really good cash. Like the 1-3 is really juicy, like the 1500, really juicy. But for me, the Hard Rock is kind of like the furthest, so it's kind of like I'm comfortable with Derby. I like Derby. It's half distance, so it has to do with me again. So it's half the distance of the Hard Rock.
So you said first Hard Rock, second is Silks?
No. Again, it depends what you're rating, so it's hard. Derby.
Overall experience, poker, food,
Derby definitely over Silks. Definitely over Silks.
So Hard Rock, Derby second. You said food is better, but you said the softest field is
even
Silks.
The tournaments are better too. Now look what they're running. They're rake free 500 and 300 on Fridays. I mean, that's sick,
best value, hands down, best value.
And before that, you remember when they were running also for a while they were running the rake free. They were crushing They were running. What was it, like a few months ago, right? When they stopped it.
They
So yeah,
stopped, but now the Friday is the best value in town for sure. How about TGT? You played at TGT?
I've only been there very few times. It's like the location is real sketchy. I've heard there's been some robberies and shit. The place is disgusting. I mean, it is what it is. It's just old with that Esca. You go in, it's dark. It's just I've only been there a few times. You know, it's just not a pleasant place to kind of be. I know they're trying now. They're running a monster mystery shit, and the dealers are really great. And you know, they're trying, but they're in a very bad spot, I guess. So I don't know how, you know, how do you fix that, whatever. But
By
I've
the
only
way, I don't know if you heard about the 500K mystery bounty. Me and I mentioned it last time on the pod. We're gonna record a little commercial just to promote that tournament. We're gonna record like a minute and a half, and he's gonna spread it on social media. That's gonna be the biggest event here in locally. We
You
need
know what?
more events.
That's what we need. We need the all the little guys to step up, and then the Hard Rock will finally step up and put bigger guarantees. I don't know what there's so much out in Tampa. Like they can run monster guarantees like literally every week,
You know what?
and they'll crush it.
When they don't run it, who's it's hurting us. You know what?
Yeah.
Shout out to Danny Lobato. You know what? He made a comment a couple days ago in the chat, and he sent me a message. He's like, you know that Hollywood is having 70 events. I said, what? You know, it's the series is 3 weeks and it's 70 events. You know how many events we're getting in Tampa? 4.
Yeah, I know.
70 to 4.
I know.
I'm like, make it like 14, 15 events and then 70 in Hollywood. Okay, that ratio is acceptable. But from 70 to 4, what is that? 5%?
And they're also very scared with the guarantees, even though they crush it every single time. It's like,
see, guarantees is only for like amateurs. Like guarantees,
but that's who you want.
Yeah,
you want the amateurs to get excited and come,
You're right.
I mean,
I'm fine with like low guarantees, but have more events. Like, give us a chance to make money. 4 events.
Yeah,
4. I mean,
look what the Hard Rock is running. I was just there last week, and they had a 400 for a 1 million. This weekend they're gonna have a 600 for a 2 million. And the next, I'm going to go, and then the next weekend they're going to have their main, which is a 3 million.
Some people say there's more money in South Florida. I get it, but build a nice product here. People will travel. The DJs will travel. They're traveling all over the nation. They're not going to stop here in Tampa. There's no reason.
It's a perfect spot. Everyone's looking for an excuse to come to Florida. So, like, Florida is definitely if someone could choose like the E where it's freezing or Florida and there's juicy events, of course they're going to travel. They travel to everywhere else. Why wouldn't they come to Tampa? You know. It's,
Ray, I want your opinion, but before we start, I want to introduce one of our old grinders here from Tampa, Sid. I just mentioned him. He left to India. He's going to join us right now, and then we can continue. I want to hear your opinion, Ray, on the rooms.
Sure.
What's up, Sid? How you doing? Can you hear us?
Hi, Carl. Can you see me? Hi.
Yeah, I can see you perfect and hear you perfect. How are you feeling?
Feeling good. It's 11:30 a.m. in India, and I'm having my black coffee.
Nice. You look like a different person. You lost so much weight.
I've lost over 35 kgs, which is like close to 70 pounds in the last 2 years. Yeah.
35 kilograms. That's a lot of weight. That's like imagine carrying a 35 kilo dumbbell.
Exactly.
Yeah, over 70 pounds, 80 pounds. You know Joel and you know Ray, right?
For sure, yeah.
Okay.
Not so much. I think I might have seen Ray, but have played with Joel a few times.
Really?
Joel has been grinding the Tampa scene for a while. Ray just came on the scene and he's crushing everything. He's a newcomer, but he's a beast. Do you have any questions for Joel, Sid?
I had one question for Joel. I think we have played twice in one of the series in Hard Rock. Like I've been in India for like 2 years now, and this one that I'm talking is about like probably like 4 years back. I've always found you one of the trickiest players in Tampa. Like, I do not remember the exact hand, but what I do remember is that there was a hand between you and me. You checked all the way, and then you checked jammed on the river. And I think you had kings, and I had like an overpair. Like, it was a small board, like small flop, turn, and river. And that was a very cool hand, and I acknowledge that. Do you remember that
the hand, Joel?
No.
I don't remember hands from yesterday.
You checked all three streets and went for the check jam on a low board?
Yeah, and it was I wasn't expecting that, Carl.
That's gangster.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't.
By the way, just to put things in perspective, Sid was a very out of line player. Like he was willing to take, tough lines. He's not scared to put chips in the pot.
Yeah,
He does a lot of studying, a lot of GTO. He talks with a lot of big names, like David Moses. He used to, they used to talk strategy and stuff. And yeah, he's deep in the lab.
I'm still talking with him. We talk often.
Oh, you still talk with him? Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, again, sorry, but it probably goes back player dependent. Maybe like, I thought that was the best route based on what I've observed watching and play. And that's kind of what I, since I don't study solvers and all that, the best that I can do with my limited work that I'm willing to put in, because I'd rather do my hobbies, play guitar or work or like go to a music festival. There's a bunch of other things that I have a balanced life where I do a lot of other things, so instead of studying all these stuff, which I don't, so I can use whatever I have at my disposal, which is really zoning in on a player and really kind of acting based on player dependent, which to my limited mind would make sense as the best place. Sometimes I'll look like a hero and it'll be great. Sometimes I'll be like, why the hell, but you go with it,
But I think, Joe, that's what the important thing is. Like, always keep backing yourself, and if you know what you're doing. And as a player, I can always say that on a table, I always acknowledge like the good players, like Carl, you, and few others that I've played in Tampa. And having played this with Carl, I would just like to give this credit in front of every other viewers that, in my experience, I've seen so many players give say something trash, but never ever I've seen Carl say anything bad, or ever, like, no matter how bad the suck out has been to anyone. Like, maybe once I believe he was mad, but except that, I've never seen, like, that's
Talking
the
about
best part.
this, I had an incident at Derby this Sunday. I've been running bad. I've been on a downswing a little bit, and if it affects you, no matter who you are. So a little bit of run bad, a little bit of bad decisions. You start, you're trigger shy somewhat. You're not going for spots when things are not going your way. So I played a hand against an older gentleman, and I opened. He defended big blind. Flop comes 10 high. I had 5-7 a heart. Flop is 7, 8, 10, one heart. He check. I check back. No, I'm sorry. He led. He leads like 10% pot on the flop. I didn't want to raise that board. Normally leads, like, I tend to raise, but if the board makes sense, like range versus range, if it's an ace high, king high, I'm taking down the pot 100% if you lead into me small. But on a 10 high board coordinate, like, he could flop the straight, he could have two pairs. I'll be attacking a range that's not folding. So he bets like 10% pot. I'm not going anywhere with the bottom pair, backdoor flush. So he led, I called. Turn, it goes check, check. Turn was like a deuce. Doesn't change anything. Doesn't bring the backdoor flush, flush draw. A river pairs the board. So it was 10, 8, 10, 8, no, 9, 10, 7, deuce, 8. He leads river again, like 10%. I would like to raise to that spot, but like, where am I gonna be repping after, especially after goes check, check, turn? Yeah. So I just call, and he goes like this. When you call and you catch somebody in the bluff and they go like this, like they shrug, like they're not happy. Basically, you have it. So I show my hand, because when he goes like this, like, I'm like, okay, I got him. There's a lot of so the board was 10, 9, 7. There's a lot of 8x that would take that line, like ace 8, 5, any 8x that has.
You said not 7, 9, 10. You said it's 7, 8,
10. It was 9, 10, 7. 9, 10, 7. Yeah. 9, 10. So a lot of 8x that have open-ended on the flop, that they might take that line to kind of set the price. And then he bricked river. So when I called, he shrugs, and then so I show my hand. I show the 7. He shows me 10, 3 offsuit. So he had the top pair. So you're to back your point. You said I never say shit to people when they suck out. I told him, I said, why are you shrugging? Like, you have top pair. Well, what's the shrug about? He's like, I thought you have a straight. So I said, if I have a straight, I'm just gonna call you on the river. Like you're gonna hear about it if I have a straight.
Why did you have to show your hand first? I mean, you
when
don't
he
have
shrugged,
to
when he shrugged, he didn't show his hand.
I understand, but you know, as a player, no matter, you know, I've seen players do all this thing, you know, all the time. They just want to do something. So as an etiquette, you know, I always ask the other players.
I try not to embarrass people. Like when I know they don't have it, I just show my hand right away. I don't want to embarrass them. I want the fish to be as comfortable as possible. But here it got the best of me when he shrugged. He went like this, like he's hating life when I called river. And he tells me that he thought I have a straight. And here you shouldn't say anything to him. Like in normal me wouldn't say anything, but I wasn't mean or anything, but I'm like, why are you shrugging? Like, why are you hating life on the river? You have top pair. I was just back. Normally I don't say anything to players. If they suck out, if they play bad, I let it go.
So just to kind of add to kind of what Sid was saying, that Carl doesn't act, going back to what you're asking for, you know, reads and tells. Everything you want to make people talk. Everything that comes out of people's mouth creates a picture of how intelligent the guy is. If a guy gets really upset at something, he doesn't get it that this is just standard poker. You already know what level poker player he is. Right there, you have so much information. If the way the guy reacts in a suck out gives you a lot of valuable information as how smart he is or how well he is. You know, you're not going to see that in any real poker player that understands poker and that played millions of hands or whatever.
Right,
it is.
right. I mean, I know to begin with that he's bad.
Right, but getting back to you asking me, it's part of live tell. So when you're sitting at a table, every word that comes out of a person, regardless if it's about the game or not, I kind of put together a profile on that person.
Yes.
Meaning if I'm going to a spot that I don't know the people, the more he talks, the more I can put together how intelligent is the person. That's first of all. How smart is he? Like at what level is he? So meaning what level of plays can someone like that pull off? I mean, you got to really be out of the box, kind of like to be able to make out of the box plays. Are you dealing with someone that's just playing, you know, really low level ABC, or someone that's not too broad? I'm not trying to criticize them. I'm saying not, you know, what. So you can, all these things, the way someone gets upset, the way someone bangs his hand at it, like all these things eventually puts together a complete profile of you know, just a general profile. And then he starts zoning in. Does he over bluff in these spots? Does he? So these are all things that is all player dependent. So I just I'll do weird stuff that's you know, not the norm or doesn't make sense, but I'm going with my read as to what the guy will respond to, or you know, and it's every single case is like its own story that you got to put together. Does it add up? Does he, you know, is he capable of doing that?
Like you said, you're putting a profile together. Sid, have you been playing any poker in India, or what's the plan? Are you coming back ever to the US?
So the last that I played poker in India, I finished 6th out of like 3,500 players. So how they did it was they did it online. So there's a site. I don't want to name the site. Maybe not sure if I'm allowed to name on this platform. So I just don't want to name the site, but I played it there. And
no, so you can name it on the yeah, it's fine.
Okay, the flight is the site name is Adda 52. So I played it there, and then I was called in Goa. So live poker is legit only in Goa, nowhere else in India. So the final table was held there, and there were, I think, 9 players. I finished 6th for almost $8,000.
How much that is in rupees? $8,000.
So $8,000 is around 6,40,000 rupees. You can multiply it like 80, like $1 is 80 Indian rupees.
80. 80. Okay, so you multiply 8K by 80.
Yeah.
80.
Yeah, it's actually more. It's around 83, but just to make roughly. It easy, it's roughly it's around 640. So I mean, it was decent, but yeah, like the second thing is like I'm not sure that I'll be coming to the US this year, but because you know there is lots of things about marriage and everything, so I want to get settled.
Don't do it. Don't do it. No, I'm joking.
It's not easy, Joe. It's not easy.
I'm joking.
Because
in India, they're a little bit traditional.
I'm completely joking.
If you're not married in India, people are after you. Like, why are you not married yet? Kind of like back home where I'm from. If
every
you're married and
culture,
don't have kids, why don't
it's
you
every
have kids
cul-
yet?
It's every
It's always-
culture. The Jewish,
there's a-
it's
Yeah,
a
traditional
lot of
cultures.
society pressure and
Yes,
and
yeah.
also the home pressure too. So I want to get things settled first. I'm working as a full-time as a data scientist, so I'm getting decently paid from them. It's a US startup, and they do not have any offices in India. So I'm working as remotely with them right now. So I'm having managing. So the priorities on the work, then marriage, and then come to the next year probably. That's the plan.
Interesting.
So right
Guys,
now
we
I'm
have
focusing on
to
my.
wrap. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We have to wrap it up. We're at 2 hours,
Sure.
25 minutes. We
All
went
right.
overboard. Ray, thank you for co-hosting. Joel, thank you for coming on.
my pleasure.
It was
Thank
fun. Sid, thank you for coming on. Sid, you can come on the next spot if you have questions. You
Sure.
came on late this time because of the link
Sure.
situation. But thank
Sure.
you guys for coming on.
Thanks for having me over, Carl. Thanks,
of course.
Joel. Thanks, Rick.
Anytime when we dive in.
Thank you, Carl. I had a lot of fun, and
Of course.
It was fun.
Yes, we had fun with this one. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You
Thank
too.
you. Good night.
Good night.